Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up. We're about to dive into the most epic royal face-off of the century. In the red corner, weighing in with a tragic backstory and the heart of a humanitarian goddess, Princess Diana, the people's princess. And in the blue corner, bringing Hollywood glamour and American sass to Buckingham Palace, Meghan Markle, the Duchess who said nope to royal protocol. This isn't just a comparison, folks. This is a tale of two women who literally broke the internet, shattered royal traditions, and had the British press collectively lose their minds. We're talking about two absolute queens who made the monarchy sweat more than Prince Andrew at a pizza party. So grab your tea, because this is about to get spicy. The entrance. Let's start with their grand entrances, shall we? Diana Spencer waltzed into the royal scene in 1981 like a Disney princess who accidentally wandered into Game of Thrones. She was just 20 years old when she married Charles. And honey, she had no idea what she was signing up for. Picture this: a shy kindergarten teacher suddenly thrust into the most scrutinized family on earth. It's like being handed the nuclear codes when you can barely operate a microwave. Now fast forward to 2016, and here comes Meghan Markle, a 35-year-old actress who'd been slaying on Suits for 7 seasons. She was already a successful actress with her own lifestyle blog, The Tig, basically living her best life in Toronto. Unlike Diana, Meghan wasn't some wide-eyed teen dreaming of fairy tales. She was a grown woman who'd already conquered Hollywood, survived a divorce, and built her own empire. But here's where it gets juicy. Both women had the audacity to bring their authentic selves to an institution that literally thrives on stuffiness. Diana with her "I'm going to hug AIDS patients without gloves" energy, and Meghan with her "I'm going to speak at UN summits before I even wear a tiara" vibe. The royals must have been like, "Who ordered the confident women? We specifically asked for quiet wallflowers." The media mayhem. Oh, but let's talk about the real battlefield, the British tabloids. If you thought reality TV was dramatic, the British press coverage of these two was like WWE meets. Mean Girls meets a nature documentary about predators stalking their prey. Diana faced an unprecedented level of media attention that turned her into one of the first modern celebrities. The paparazzi were literally obsessed with this woman. They followed her to the gym, to charity events, probably to the grocery store to analyze her yogurt choices. And Diana? She played that media game like a chess grandmaster. She understood that one photo could send a message louder than any royal statement. But then came Meghan, and boy, oh boy, did the media lose their collective minds. When British newspapers first broke the news of Prince Harry's relationship with Meghan, one male online headline declared that she was almost straight out of Compton. I'm sorry, what? Meghan grew up in Los Angeles, not Compton, but facts have never stopped a good tabloid headline, have they? And here's where things get really spicy. 50% of UK journalists responding to a Press Gazette survey said they thought media coverage of Meghan Markle has been racist. 50%! That's not bias, that's a whole different playbook. Diana dealt with invasive coverage, but Meghan faced invasive coverage with a side of racism. Talk about playing the game on expert mode, the fashion face-off. Now let's get to the fun stuff. The fashion. Because honey, these two women didn't just wear clothes. They made statements that had designers weeping with joy and fashion editors frantically taking notes. Diana's style remains as influential as ever, sparking magazine photo shoots, designer runway collections, and reissues of her beloved pieces. This woman made a black off-the-shoulder dress so iconic they called it the revenge dress. Imagine having such powerful fashion energy that your outfit gets its own historical nickname. Diana literally wore her feelings, and we were all here for it. She revolutionized royal fashion by ditching the gloves because she wanted to actually touch people. Diana chose not to practice certain royal clothing customs, such as wearing gloves when meeting the public, as she believed it would prevent a direct connection with the people she met. Revolutionary? Yes. Controversial? Absolutely. Iconic. Legendary. And then there's Meghan, who brought Hollywood glamour to stuffy royal events like she was red carpet ready 24/7. This woman wore a boat-neck wedding dress that had fashion critics either praising its minimalist elegance or quietly having existential crises about the lack of bling. But you know what? She looked stunning, and she knew it. Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, subtly references Diana's style. Frequently spotted in outfits reflecting Diana's effortless chic, Meghan brings a modern flair to Diana's iconic looks. It's like Diana passed down the How to Break Royal Fashion Rules handbook, and Meghan said, "Hold my Starbucks and watch this." The Rebel Revolution. But fashion was just the beginning of their rebellious streak. These women didn't just break rules, they obliterated them with the force of 1,000 suns. Diana literally redefined what it meant to be royal. She made headlines in 1987 when she intentionally shook hands with an AIDS patient, working to dispel the myth that HIV/AIDS could be spread through touch. In 1987, when people were still terrified and ignorant about AIDS, Diana said, "Watch me hug this person and educate the world." And honestly, the power of that moment still gives me chills. She took her sons to homeless shelters and fast food restaurants because she wanted them to understand real life. Diana took her sons to hospitals, orphanages, and homeless shelters to guarantee that they had a knowledge of people's feelings, their uncertainties, people's anguish, and their hopes and dreams. Can you imagine the royal advisors having heart attacks? Your Highness, McDonald's is not in the royal protocol. Meanwhile, Meghan showed up already woke and ready to work. She has been named one of the most influential women in the world in rankings, including Time magazine's Most Influential People, and she wasn't even trying to fit into their mold. She guest-edited British Vogue, creating the fastest-selling issue in the magazine's history. The Duchess of Sussex guest-edited British Vogue in July 2019, which was the fastest-selling copy in the magazine's history. Both women understood that being royal meant having a platform, and they weren't about to waste it on ribbon-cutting ceremonies and small talk about the weather. The mental health truth bombs. Now let's get real for a moment, because this is where both Diana and Meghan showed extraordinary courage. They took the biggest taboo in royal history, mental health struggles, and said, "We're going to talk about this whether you like it or not." Princess Diana said that her depression and treatment was not met well by the royal family. "Well, maybe I was the first person ever to be in the family who ever had a depression or was ever openly tearful." Diana talked about bulimia, self-harm, and feeling trapped in a loveless marriage in the 1990s, when mental health was still whispered about in secret corners. She literally told the world, "There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded about Charles and Camilla's affair." The audacity, the truth, the absolute savage energy of this statement still makes jaws drop today. Then came Meghan, who dropped her own truth bomb in that Oprah interview. Markle revealed that when she was having suicidal thoughts, she went to the institution and asked for help. She was declined any assistance, stating they told her it wouldn't be good for the institution. I'm sorry, what? A pregnant woman asking for mental health support being told it's bad for PR? The royal family really said, "Have you tried just not being sad?" Both women faced the same institutional response: silence, denial, and the expectation to suffer beautifully in private. The love stories. But let's talk about love, because honey, this is where the stories diverge like 2 completely different rom-com genres. Diana's love story started like a fairy tale but turned into a psychological thriller. Diana was trapped in a loveless marriage, whereas these 2 seem extremely happy together. That's a huge difference. As Andrew Morton, Diana's secret biographer, pointed out, Diana was 19 when she got engaged to Charles, who was 32 and clearly still hung up on his ex. Imagine being a teenager and marrying someone who's basically using you as a consolation prize. The man literally said whatever love means when asked if he was in love during their engagement interview. The audacity. No wonder Diana looked like a deer in headlights half the time. Charles and Diana's marriage was like watching a slow-motion car crash in real time, except the car crash was televised globally, and everyone had opinions about the wreckage. Now Meghan, this woman met Harry on a blind date in 2016, and they literally went camping in Botswana as one of their first dates. An early date was a camping trip to Botswana. Not exactly your typical royal courtship of formal dinners and chaperoned events. Harry saw what happened to his mother and said, "Not on my watch." When the press started their usual nonsense, late in 2016, Harry made the relationship public while berating the British press for its treatment of Markle. This man literally told the British tabloids to back off. Diana never had that protection. The family drama. Speaking of family, let's dive into the tea that's been brewing for decades. Because both women brought their own special brand of family chaos that had the royals clutching their pearls and reaching for the emergency gin. Diana's family drama was like a soap opera written by someone on a sugar high. Her parents divorced when she was young. One of the toughest things Diana had to deal with was when her parents got divorced, and she ended up being raised by a father who later married his mistress. And then she married into a family where the husband was also having an affair. The irony is so thick you could cut it with a tiara. The Spencer family was aristocratic, but messy, which probably prepared Diana for the chaos she'd face in the royal family. At least she knew dysfunction when she saw it. Meghan's family situation? Oh boy, her half-brother literally wrote a letter warning Harry not to marry her, calling her a jaded, shallow, conceited woman that will make a joke of you and the royal family heritage. Her own family member. The drama was so intense that most of Meghan's family didn't even get invited to the royal wedding. But here's the kicker. According to royal author Tom Bower, Diana's siblings disagreed with the comparison between the two women and, in 2017, even warned Harry against marrying the Suits actress. Even Diana's family was like, "These women are not the same." The family dynamics were a whole circus. The Motherhood Moments. Now let's talk about motherhood, because both women revolutionized what it meant to be a royal mom, and the results were iconic. Diana was the first royal mom to break basically every parenting protocol in the book. Diana was often described as a devoted mother to her children, who are believed to be influenced by her personality and way of life. She took William and Harry on public transportation, to McDonald's, and to homeless shelters. The royal staff probably needed therapy after Diana's parenting style. She wanted her boys to understand real life, not just the bubble of royalty. When other royal kids were learning about proper napkin folding, William and Harry were learning about homelessness and social issues. Diana literally said, "My kids are going to be woke before woke was even a thing." Meghan brought her own revolutionary approach to royal motherhood. Meghan gave birth to a son, Archie, on May 6, 2019, and then she gave birth to a daughter, Lilibet, on June 4, 2021. But she did it her way. No royal photo call immediately after birth, no extensive christening ceremony, and definitely no letting the public dictate how she raised her children. Both women understood that being a royal parent meant protecting their children from the madness while still teaching them empathy and real-world values. They weren't raising future royals. They were raising future humans. The Great Escape. And then came the exits. Oh, honey, this is where both women showed us what happens when you push a strong woman too far. Diana's escape was gradual, but explosive. The marital breakdown became increasingly apparent amid mutual recriminations, tell-all biographies, and admissions of infidelity on both sides, and the couple formally separated in 1992. She gave Andrew Morton that secret interview for his book, essentially throwing a grenade into the royal family's carefully constructed image. And then came that legendary panorama interview in 1995. Diana literally sat in front of the camera and spilled all the tea. She talked about Charles's affair, her mental health struggles, and her famous line about wanting to be queen of people's hearts. The royal family was shook. They probably had emergency meetings lasting weeks. Meghan and Harry's exit, even more dramatic. As announced in January 2020, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have stepped back as working members of the royal family. They didn't just leave, they fled to California and signed deals with Netflix and Spotify faster than you could say financial independence. Morton noted, "Diana gave it 10 years before she rebelled and helped me on the book." Harry and Meghan headed for the exit door fairly rapidly. Prince Harry's made it perfectly clear that he found the royal world suffocating. Meghan and Harry basically said, "We're out," after less than 2 years of marriage. That's not an exit strategy, that's an evacuation. And then they did the Oprah interview. The royal family probably wished they could move to a different planet after that bombshell. Meghan revealed racism concerns, mental health struggles being ignored, and basically confirmed that the royal family's behind-the-scenes reality was as messy as we all suspected. The legacy battle. So what's the ultimate legacy of these two incredible women? Because honey, they both changed the game forever. Diana literally transformed what it meant to be royal. She is credited by at least one biographer with effectively modernizing the royal family and their relations with the British public. She made it okay for royals to show emotion, to hug people, to talk about real issues instead of just waving from balconies. She is remembered as the people's princess because of her widespread popularity and global humanitarian efforts. Diana didn't just break royal protocol, she created a whole new blueprint for how royals could connect with people. She turned the monarchy from a distant, untouchable institution into something more relatable and human. Her fashion legacy alone is still influencing people today. From TikTok users painstakingly recreating her workout outfits to fashion fans sourcing cult items worn by the late royal, her style remains as influential as ever. 25 years after her death, Gen Z is still obsessed with Diana's style. That's the definition of iconic. Meghan's legacy? She proved that you don't have to sacrifice your identity to marry into royalty. Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, is a feminist and champion of human rights and gender equity. Her lifelong advocacy for women and girls remains a constant thread in her humanitarian and business ventures. She showed that it's possible to say no to an institution that expects complete submission. She followed her heart and what she cared about over everything else. There are lots of parallels between them, and I get a sense Meghan wanted to follow in her footsteps. Both women understood that with great privilege comes great responsibility, but they defined that responsibility on their terms, not the institution's terms. The ultimate verdict. So who wins in the ultimate Diana versus Meghan showdown? Plot twist, they both win. Diana paved the way by showing that royals could be human, vulnerable, and real. She literally died fighting for landmine victims and humanitarian causes. Her legacy is that she made the royal family feel something other than duty and tradition. Meghan picked up that torch and ran with it across the Atlantic. She proved that you can honor Diana's legacy while living your own truth. So much of what Meghan is and how she is so similar to my mom, Prince Harry says. She has the same compassion, she has the same empathy, she has the same confidence. These two women didn't just marry into royalty, they revolutionized it. They took an ancient institution and forced it to evolve, even if it was kicking and screaming the whole way. Diana and Meghan, two different eras, two different approaches, but the same unstoppable energy of women who refuse to be silenced, diminished, or contained by anyone's expectations. And honestly, the royal family is probably still trying to figure out what hit them. The people's princesses didn't just break the mold, they melted it down and created something entirely new.